Hey guys, before the video starts, I'm doing a $20 Amazon gift card giveaway. All you have to do to join is subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. And I'll be announcing the winner next Friday on August 26th. So do those things, free 20 bucks, there's nothing to lose. Just comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the video. One of the most important things that you need when you're looking for a job is a good resume, right? Without a good resume, you never get an interview, and without an interview, you're never gonna get the job that you want. Now, a good resume isn't necessarily gonna get you the job, but it's gonna get you an interview, and from there, it's all in your hands to get the actual job. It's definitely realistic, but the first step, the foundational step, is a good resume. So that's why today we're gonna be going through my resume that got me an interview at Amazon, where I'm currently working and have been working for the past like 6-ish months. I'm gonna be going through how I made it, what I was thinking about, and just some tips to, in my opinion, improve your resume and increase your odds of getting that interview, all right? So let's take a look. So first and foremost, the software that I use to make the actual resume is called Credle, Credle.io. The link will be in the description. This is not an affiliate link. I'm not selling anything. I don't get any money for promoting this. I just genuinely think this is the best way to make a resume. I've been making my resume this way for years, and I have many friends that are working at companies like Facebook and Google and Microsoft, and a ton of them have been using this as well. And so I think if it's good enough for us, if it's good enough for them, it's probably good enough for you, and it'll make your life so much easier. All you have to do is put in the information, and then it formats it for you and does everything you need, right? So we'll be getting a look at Credle as well, but mostly this is gonna be about the actual content of the resume, right? So all this stuff up here, basic information, this is a given, right? You put your email, name, phone number, where you graduated from, how long you were in school, your degree, if you went to a boot camp, if you took some courses, put all of that on there, any courses you completed. This is kind of a given, but the important part is your work history and the projects that you have worked on, right? So let's start off. If you have no work history at all, if you're just graduating from university or just graduating from a boot camp or an online course, whatever it is, you want to put some projects, right? If you have no work experience, you want to show that you can actually do something. Maybe include a link to your GitHub, but you definitely want something on there. And if you haven't been doing anything in your personal time, then go ahead and put a project that you built in, during your university, during your boot camp, right? You need a place to start. And if your resume is completely empty, then no one's gonna give you an interview, right? So if you have no work experience, put some side projects that you worked on. If you have no side projects, put some, school projects or anything part of like the courses that you've taken. But the main point is you need to display that you know how to code, right? That you've done it before, that you've worked on a project from start to finish. You want to show that you can actually finish what you started, and you want to show ideally that you can solve complex problems and bring genuine value to a company, right? And the best way to do that is to explain what you've done in the past. Now we can go through my employment section. So I have 4 jobs here. I took away the names and the titles and positions and all that stuff. But in my opinion, the biggest things that you want to include when you're talking about your past experience is, you want to quantify the effect that you had on a company. So for example, right here, maintain a web application with 100,000 plus users, right? I'm giving numbers to, give some more context about what I was working with, the scale at which I was working, and it genuinely just makes it more impressive. And honestly, guys, if you want to, fudge the numbers a bit, improve them a bit to make yourself look better, go for it. No one's ever going to check. No one's ever going to double check that, and it'll only make you look better. You're not going to hurt your chances if you, instead of 10K users, you put 50K users. Nothing changes. It just looks better, right? So go ahead. I would recommend doing that. Try it if you're not getting any interviews, right? Yeah, one of the things I want to talk about is you want to quantify the effect that you have. So, here I have 100,000 plus users. Here I have 1.5 million users, right? I worked on a project, I used the Stripe API, React, and Node.js to save the company over $50,000 in membership fees, right? So you don't just want to explain what you worked on, but the most important part is why you worked on it. What was the goal? And what effect did it actually have? It's all well and good to say that you worked on a backend using Python or using Node, right? You built a super responsive front end, but if you're not explaining who's using it, how many people use it, how many times does it go down, is it super reliable, is the backend service that you built, up 99.99% of the time? You don't want to just say what you did, you want to say why you did it and give some context, because that is so much more important than just explaining what you were doing. So we can go back, here, maintain a web application with 100,000 plus users using Angular on the front end and ASP.NET on the back end. So here you see I explained what I did, the effect it had, and how I did it. I used Angular and ASP.NET. Then I just gave some more context. Worked as a part of team of 7 to develop the first version of a new web application meant to replace a legacy application. So this just gives more context into, you know, the team I was working on, right? A team of 7. Then I conducted code reviews on a regular basis, participated in sprint planning retros. You know, this is kind of, this isn't the best thing to add. I was just probably, you know, I didn't have much to add, so I added that in. I'm pretty sure that in any kind of development position, that is kind of assumed that you do this kind of stuff, but I was kind of short on things to write, so I added that in. But overall, guys, you know, look, 100,000 users, what I used to build it, what I did, maintain a web application, I built the first version of a new web app. So you really get all the information that you need from this. Then, you know, the job that I had beforehand, same kind of thing. It had 1.5+ million users. What sounds better? Just use common sense and think about what sounds better. I developed and maintained the back end of an iOS and Android app, or I developed and maintained the back end of an iOS and Android app with 1.5 million users, 1 million daily requests using ASP.NET and Node.js. Without this in the middle, I think that, you know, my odds of getting an interview at Amazon would have been a lot lower. Because I wasn't giving a lot of context to what I was doing. As an interviewer, if you see that someone was working on an app at such scale, you know, that gives you a lot of insight, and that lets you know that they're probably a good developer if they're working on such a high scale, if it's reliable, and, you know, if they were successful at maintaining an app with 1.5 million users, then there's a good chance, you know, they can be successful at my company as well. Here, I talked about it earlier, implemented a payment page using the Stripe API, React, Node.js that saved over $50,000 in membership fees and processed 10,000 plus transactions, right? If you see this, they saved so much money, but not only that, but it processed 10,000 plus transactions. That means, you know, you look at this resume and you can see, okay, this developer can build some reliable code that actually works. If 10,000 transactions went through and that much money was saved, that means, you know, what I built actually worked. And then the people that look at it, you know, it increases your chances. So basically, guys, the gist of it all is you want to explain what you did, right? So like I built an iOS app, maintained the backend of an iOS app, how you did it, so the languages that you used, and then the effect it had. Arguably, the third one is the most important. And then if you go lower, you can see that I kind of follow the same pattern, right? Developed, deployed, maintained services in a microservice architecture that services over 1 million users using Docker containers on Kubernetes, right? So there's a lot of buzzwords going on here. This is actually pretty jokes. Microservice architecture, Kubernetes, Docker containers, you know, you get all the highlights. So yeah, you can see a lot of buzzwords. It's pretty jokes, but the most important part is, you know, it's serviced over 1 million users. And, you know, since I've started using this resume, since I started implementing this kind of strategy of putting in the context, putting in the effect that I had, and quantifying the effect that I had, I actually did receive a lot more interviews. I've had a lot more success getting, like, you know, new jobs and switching careers, a lot more so than I did beforehand. Now, I don't know if it's directly related to that or like just the fact that I got more experience, but that is genuinely my honest experience, right? So the next one, wrote productionized code using Node.js, Redis, called over 100,000 times per day. Implemented Facebook Eventbrite's Events API in order to source and suggest 70,000 plus events. Right, so everywhere you look, you see numbers, you see the effect that I had, and I just want to like drill it into you guys that is the most important part in my opinion. You also want to explain obviously the languages that you use and all of that stuff, but if you're giving that information without any context, it's basically useless. So yeah, you can see that I'm always including how I built it, what I used, and the effect that it had. And I just want to let you guys know that that including numbers, like everywhere you look, I have numbers, I have how many users, how much money I saved, how many times the backend is called, how many events I sourced, how many transactions were processed. You always want to give context. Context is the most important thing. If you write that, you know, you made a sick app, no one used it, it never got tested, what's the point, right? Obviously, it's awesome that you built the app and that it works, but if you built the app and then, you know, you say that it's called 1,000 times per day, that kind of gives you like a bit of an edge, right? So I would always take a look at your resume right now. I guarantee you that you're not giving any context with the things that you're writing, and you can definitely make it better. So try implementing these things. And if you can't think of anything that you had an effect on, then you might want to, you know, rethink what you're adding on your resume. Because if you can't give context to the things that you worked on, then it might not be the best thing to include on your resume. Then if you go down, you know, I write some of the languages I know, Node.js, C#, JavaScript. I also add French and Russian in here. It's a bit like, you know, I think it's jokes and it gives them context and you know, lets them know that I am like trilingual. I know French, Russian, and English as well. So I don't know. I don't think this is the most important part. There's React, Redux, Webpack, AWS, all this stuff. You know, a lot of people say that companies automatically filter out based on keywords. If you don't have like a certain keyword in your resume, then it'll filter it out, like some bot, some script running will just filter out your resume. I don't know how true that is. It might be true. Like genuinely, guys, I have no idea. But you know, if that is true, then adding all these keywords is probably ideal. And you want to have as much as you can. But the most important thing is, though, do not lie about your resume. Like you can embellish things. I would say like you can fudge the numbers, you can add a bit here and there, but do not straight up lie about job that you had or a project that you built, or even, you know, one of these things. You know, if I lied about developed and maintained the backend of an iOS and Android app, that was a lie. Then when I'm actually interviewing, right? When you're interviewing, you're expected to be able to talk about everything that you did on your resume in detail, in a lot of detail, like how you built it, how long it took, the difficulties you went through, what went well, what went poorly. You really want to be able to talk about it in a lot of detail during an interview. And if you're lying on your resume, then that's going to be difficult. It's very easy to see when someone is lying when you're interviewing them. So keep that in mind for sure. Everything you put on your resume, you want to be able to talk about in detail during an interview. So don't lie, don't put skills, don't put technologies that you don't know on here. There's no point to do that. Just apply to a different job, right? You don't want to just add a ton of crap in here and like just to like look good. If you don't really know the language, like don't put Python in if you don't know it, right? Because you will be asked, you will probably be asked about it in an interview. If that job needs Python, you put Python on your skills, you don't really know Python, you're gonna get exposed during the interview, right? Last part here I have is projects. Now, myself personally, I didn't really have that many side projects. So like I said before, I just put a chess game as part of a school project where you can play against an AI. We built 3 levels of AI, easy, medium, and hard was very difficult to beat, right? I didn't have any side projects that I worked on, so I put a school project on. No big deal. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're able to talk about it during the interview, if it sounds good, if it was a meaningful project that was hard and like you remember, put it on. Who cares if it was from school, right? That's what I did. And then here I put a hackathon that was part of Genome Link API to develop a web app, allowing users to filter through the genome DNA of donors, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I was part of a hackathon, and I put that on. I put the project that we worked on there, and I was able to talk about how we built it, you know, what was hard, what was easy. And I think personally, if you have a hackathon on your resume, it just adds a bit of like, it makes it more interesting. It shows that you're more passionate about coding than like the average person. And I just think, you know, you have nothing to lose by putting a hackathon on your resume, right? So look, you know, I didn't put anything crazy, just a school project and some hackathon that I didn't even win. You know, we actually got disqualified from the hackathons. So that tells you everything you need to know, right? It's not crazy. Don't overthink your resume. Just take what you worked on. What I would do is like kind of write out everything you've worked on, and then, you know, dig away at it here and there, filter out some things, remove some things, add some things, and then, you know, keep iterating. That's the best way to make a resume. And, you know, use Credle as well, because look, once you filled everything in, oh, one more thing. I also put, I don't know why it took away all these, it took the title and stuff, but I just put, you know, I have a YouTube channel that teaches people how to code. I have 2.8K subscribers. And, you know, actually, this is, interestingly enough, came up during an interview and able to talk about it, and it's just like another interesting thing. So any kind of side thing you're working on is a plus. If it's coding related, anything that you're working on the side other than your job or your school is always a positive. It's going to show that you're passionate. It's going to show that you're interested in what you're doing, and that always improves your chances of getting an interview, right? Don't forget, this is just an interview, guys. You can have the best resume in the world, but you go to the interview, if you're not prepared, no one's ever going to hire you, right? And this is why I love Credle, because you go to resume formatting and it just builds it all for you and it looks beautiful. So you see here, it has my university, all the languages I know. You see here all of my experience, the projects that I worked on, and then I have YouTube down here. My name, email, phone number. I think, in my opinion, this is like a beautiful resume. It's so simple. You don't have to overthink it, and Credle just does it all for you. I don't like resumes with a lot of pictures, with a lot of designs, especially for coding. You know, I don't know about other spheres, like other careers, but coding, you know, you just want to make it straightforward, easy to read, and I think this is, in my opinion, this looks great. So I would use Credle, guys, if you are looking for a job and you're building a resume. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it has provided you some sort of value. If you're looking for a job and you're making your resume, and you're not having much success at getting interviews, the problem is probably your resume. So take a look at your resume, try to implement some of the things that I have included, that I've talked about in this video, and let me know how it goes, right? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you agree with, disagree with, if there's any resume tips that you've used that have helped you get a job in the past. Leave it down below, like the video, and as always, I would greatly appreciate a subscribe to the channel. That would absolutely make my day. So have a good day, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, enjoy your coding.